and welcome to this episode of Tennis Volley Talk today. Today, what I'm going to do is going to have a little bit of a continuation of tennis on the podcast of Texas Tennis from Mason Tennis. From the interview I had with Eric last week, interesting interview, but Paul Smith is actually the one I'm going to be talking to today, which actually kind of came through and ended up in Mason, but he ended up teaching the local high school there through the wonderful world of tennis. His now daughter and son are teaching the teaching of the tennis there at the school too. But Paul, thank you for joining me on Tennis Volley Talk here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm enjoying. Good chance to visit about it.
Oh yeah, well, anything to do with about tennis, and are afraid to ask us, right?
Oh yeah.
So basically, the whole thing. Did you kind of grow up being a city guy, or from a big city when you first grew up, and growing up through your years of growing, or how that where do you end up, or where did you?
Yeah, I was actually born and raised in Lubbock, and went to high school there at Lubbock, Monterey. Then went to Tech and was a kinesiology major there, and wanted to coach, and so when I got out, got married in 75, I guess, and was looking for a job, and I had never played tennis really. I hacked around a little bit, but I ran track, played a little bit of football, but ran track more than anything else. And so that my goal was to be a track coach in football, and just wasn't job openings in it. So we wound up taking the only job open that was open in Lubbock at that time was a little junior high tennis job, and so just kind of fell into it, and I was very fortunate. We had several wonderful coaches. A gentleman by the name of Charlie Morris that worked with me a bunch. Hall of Fame coaches Jim Carter at Lubbock Coronado, Steve Thomas, Lord Monterey, then Perry Corsi that was there. These were all Hall of Fame coaches, and I was just kind of you just sit around those guys, shut up and listen. What they're saying, and start learning the best you can learn, and watching TV, watching, just kind of getting everything, reading every book you can find about it. You just kind of learn it that way, and you learn to hit a backhand by watching Vitas Gerulaitis hit his backhand. That's kind of how you do it.
Well, that is true. I mean, now, Vitas had such a smooth backhand, a one-hander to boot too.
Yeah, that's, of course, back in those days when I was young, I'm almost 74, so it was one-handers. That's what everybody was hitting. Jimmy Connors and Chris were just kind of beginning to come out with it with the two-hander.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then Vilas, he had the left-handed one-hander, and and all of that. But those guys back then. But Vitas was such a smooth player, and it's amazing, amazing that how many years that he played Connors, that he never could win more against Connors than what he did, and everything. That's amazing to me.
Beats him 17 times in a row.
Yeah. I know. Go figure. Nobody beats Vitas Gerulaitis 17 in a row, by golly. So, but with that, it's amazing though. With that, and then basically with you just kind of being kind of learning about it with all the pros or the teaching guys that you had to learn from, must have been a great experience to be able to learn from and grow, and then be able to start playing tennis on your own and getting better and better and better in order to be able to teach and coach tennis that way too.
Those guys were just phenomenal. I mean, every one of them were just this good as gold. Good people. That's the main thing. They teach the right way to do things, and not just as to hit the ball, but how to coach, how to deal with kids, and the respect that you give them, and it's just it was a great experience for me. It really was, and of course, it was just great to be able to translate that on and get the chance to work with so many different kids over the years. I coached there in Lubbock and junior high there for 2 years, and then coached at Lubbock High School, Orange School, and coached there for 7 years, and then moved to Mason in 1984.
84. Okay.
Started coaching here in 84 and coached from 84 to 2017.
Wow, that's a long time, man.
So 2 years total.
Yeah. And so basically you kind of went from Lubbock, which was kind of a bigger town, and then you went to Mason, which was like, oh my gosh, this is like really small.
We had more kids in our high school than what we had here in town.
Oh my goodness gracious. And of all things though too, with this, I mean, back in, well, you kind of came in 84, but prior to that, the first 2 courts there in Mason, what I gather, were built in like 1955. For it, and they were kind of like finished off with the chicken wire for the back fence, and the little crude courts that they made back then to just start playing tennis with their rackets at the time.
One of the unique things is that Mason, back in the 20s and 30s, had 3 different tennis, basically academies type of things, where people would travel to come in and learn tennis from like Mr. Latham, who was one of the major ones, and they didn't even know the other ones existed.
Oh my!
Because transportation really wasn't there.
Yeah.
And we had one of them that had 1 clay court and 3. I had 1 concrete court and 3 clay courts. That produced several of them, and produced our first state champion, which was Mr. Latham's son, Steve Latham, who won state in 1929, and that was back when there was no classification, 1A through 3A, or 1A through 6A. It was just all one classification, and the young man hitchhiked his way to Austin to play at the state championship by himself.
Oh my goodness!
With his clothes on his back and his racket in his hand, won the state championship, and then carried his trophy and his racket and hitchhiked his way back to Mason. So a pretty unique deal right there. So that's kind of what got Mason started.
Oh yeah,
all the tennis back in that era, and I mean, guys, we had so many old courts, and we've got pictures of these guys playing on just basically just out in the sand. They just beat it down and strung a net up between a couple of posts that would be, or sometimes even a couple of trees.
Of course.
And start hitting the ball back and forth over it.
And anywhere to play tennis, anywhere.
And it looked kind of like a third world country.
Yeah.
But they definitely picked it up, and then, like I say, by the 50s, they started picking up a little bit more. And of course, with the boom hit in the 60s, it really did just blossom. We had like 17 courts that were here in the community that people had built on their own, private courts, and that people were playing at.
Oh yeah, and then plus you guys from and per capita. Then that per capita that in that county that Mason has the more tennis courts per capita in that county than any other place in the U.S.
Well, in the Sports Illustrated article that they did on us back in 1976, the gentleman that was writing the article tabulated out. He said there was for San Francisco to have the same number of courts per capita that we had, they'd have to have over 17,000 courts.
Oh, oh my goodness. That is a lot of courts.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is really amazing in itself. And so then you then got the job there at the high school there at Mason, and then teaching from 84, and then plus being able to take those minds that are in and have the tennis bug in them. Now, you kind of like starting in and learning the tennis part of it. Did the tennis bug finally just hit you and go, nope, that's my sport now. It's tennis all the way?
when I finally started the chance to really get out and play, start learning the game, I fell in love with it. And so, like I said, that's what I did. That's all I coached in Lubbock was just tennis. And when I moved to Mason, I coached tennis for 1 year, and then they asked me to come in and coach some junior high football. Which they told me it would be 1 year, and about 25, 30 years later, I was still coaching it. So
there you go.
I coached some junior high football, a little varsity football, and then we had fortunate to get to be the defensive coordinator back when we won our first state championship. So which was fun to get to have that on top of it. But
well, of course,
tennis basically in small schools is only played in spring, and so that kind of opened me up. It gave me something to be doing and working on, but I could still have my tennis at the same time.
Oh, sure.
Taxes. I could do my classroom tennis and then go up to the football field afterwards. So it was a good combination.
Oh, yeah.
For me personally.
Oh, absolutely. And with that, it's and as far as then kind of growing up and then getting in there and learning, well, you having the football to kind of rely on during the winter and all that. But then during the spring and going into the summer, just made it that much more fun for regionals and having the team spirit there with the players and having the number 1 and number 2, 3 player, and then switching them out for doubles too, and playing that team sport. Just a lot of that kind of gets a lot of players now. Like some of the pros, like Danielle Collins and Emma Navarro, they went to college and they have that team spirit that they kind of they kind of get together within high school, and that kind of projects in when they go to college and get into tennis in college then too.
Yeah, I think the people that skip, the team tennis, whether it be in high school or college, either one, are missing so many. A lot of the high school kids miss it. They decide just to go, straight to the big tournaments and stuff, and they miss that. And they just have no idea what they're missing, because the camaraderie that the kids have, the fun that they have, the trips, the getting up early in the morning to take off and drive to, a couple hundred miles to a tennis tournament, and then turn around and play all day, then turn around and come back that night and get up and do it the next day. Those are the things that just built relationships that these kids have had and will have for the rest of their lives.
Well, yeah.
And I have that same feeling with them. Because we share so much, share a lot of time together, and the bad part, it was tough on me, because, like I say, it also took away family time too. But fortunately, all 5 of our kids play tennis, and so that was good. So I got to have them. So.
Well, that is amazing. All 5 of them. That's totally amazing, and stuff. But with that too, I mean, tennis is really such a diverse sport, because you can play tennis with any nationality out there. I mean, you can play with anybody out there, whoever it might be, of different ethnicities and everything, but everybody gets along because it's the tennis realm that people can play with each other and still have fun doing it and getting along.
Well, and it really doesn't matter, the ability level, whether you're, a very strong player or just a beginner, and that's why I keep telling all our kids, it doesn't make a difference who you're playing with. You can have fun with it, and you can learn something while you're doing it. I mean, you can always work on some aspect of your game if you're playing someone a little bit weaker, and like say, playing someone stronger, just you emulate what they're doing and pick up from that. So it's good for you any way you go about it. I mean, and plus you're just building some great relationships and new friends.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the tennis community and people that you meet within tennis are lifelong people that you can just call, hey, you got time for this afternoon? Hey, well, yeah, okay, I have time. Boom, you're out there in the court in the afternoon and playing, and everything. It just kind of makes it so much nicer with having that plethora of names that you accumulated and friends that you've accumulated through the tennis and everything too. I mean, myself, I have a friend of mine, that a high school friend that was my doubles partner back in high school, and me and him learned on the old cement courts with the yellow lines and the chain link fence net, and we learned on those courts too. And but we had the old guys at the time that took us under their wing, and you couldn't have had a nicer group of older guys that took young guys under their wing to play tennis with. And that was lifelong people that you just knew and loved because of how they just took you in under their wing and let the young kids play with us, and show them a thing or two. And it was just absolutely wonderful. Back in the day, you just couldn't get a court until 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon because everybody else has been playing, and they'd fill in. You'd have the whole 4 courts full, and oh, hey, I'm leaving. Come on in, fill in for me, and you'd fill in as another doubles person. And if you didn't know anybody, you wouldn't get a court until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And everything. But those courts, those white cement courts, you learned on how to play on fast courts and fast surfaces.
Yeah, real quickly, yeah. And that's what we had at the junior high that I taught at.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight, cement courts with white lines on it, so you couldn't really see anything to begin with.
Oh, that's right. You couldn't tell if it was. Yeah, we had the yellow painted lines, though, that they were painted on, too. So it was crazy in itself. With that. So it was like, what the heck? But you learn to play fast and, learn to catch it early and all of that with learning of that stuff too. And actually my friend, he's just a retired lawyer, and he lives in Lubbock also.
Oh, really?
So yeah. He's a retired lawyer for child advocate. And he from high school, and me and him, we're doubles partners for a long time. He was the lefty, I was the righty, so that kind of made it pretty good there that way with the lefty righty combination.
How did y'all play it? Did you play your lefty on the deuce court?
No, we played. I was on the deuce and he was on the ad for whatever.
You kept your backhand.
Yeah. Yeah, it made our backhands better though too. So, but then he had that good hook serve that put it right at me at the net, and I could just hit that ball for a winner. So too, that always made it good too with that and everything. But unbelievable with that, And I always tell my YouTubers, tune in. Watch, my tennis podcast, like, subscribe, and comment with that. And then also what I do is a racket of the day too during this, and I show the audience. I show a racket that I have of my many old rackets that I have. I have 250 racket collection.
Oh, cool.
And stuff. My oldest racket's March 8th, 1908, which is my oldest racket that I have. And when you take a look at my podcast on YouTube, whenever you do, and this drops, you'll hear this episode, and you'll see some of the rackets in the background that I have with this. And but with this, I do racket of the day, and then I show, and then after it drops, I upload it to the podcasters out there too. So the podcasters, if they want to take a look at the racket, then they can go to the Tennis Volley Talk on YouTube and take a look at the racket that I talk about too. So it's kind of racket of the day that I show also. So it's always fun to give the history of the racket too and everything. So it's really a fun thing to be able to do. So then are your boy and the girl that teach now in tennis, are they the older ones or kind of the middle kids, or?
No, they're more the middle ones there. My oldest son he works for a credit association here, and then he won state once. Matter of fact, he beat his little brother at the state finals.
How dare him!
That was a taxing experience for us. And then became my second son. He was the second oldest, and he won. He was second state twice, and then won it won it 2 times, and he's the current coach, and he took my position over whenever I left. He's the coach, and he's also the assistant principal, or what they call dean of students here.
Oh, okay.
And so he does that, and then our oldest daughter is the assistant tennis coach. She won it 3 times and was a silver medalist once in state. And she was also a 2-time All-State basketball player. So,
oh my goodness,
she's a real good little athlete.
Oh.
And then the next daughter, she won state in mixed. In fact, she was the very first mixed doubles state champion in Texas.
Oh my gosh.
And it started in 2006 is when we finally got mixed doubles into the UIL. And it was a race between us and one of the other larger schools that had mixed doubles going on at the same time. So we were trying to finish before they did so we could be classified as the first state champion. So, and we won it by 1 game. And we got the other team was in their last game when we won. So,
oh my goodness, what a comeback! What a way to do it, right?
And our youngest daughter won it 1 time in doubles. So they were all more doubles people, and I guess that comes from me because my philosophy in singles was always just hit it whether or not, and I've never felt like I was a very strong singles coach, but I've done a lot of research, done a lot of work in doubles. In fact, we've had the Bryan brothers here.
Oh my gosh, really?
They've done so, yes, and we've taken our kids to watch them several times.
Oh my gosh!
In little exhibition matches they have here in the area.
Yes.
So, matter of fact, I've got a picture of my oldest daughter has got a set of twins, and we took them to the tournament. Not tournament, it was just practice deal, or a exhibition match, and they were meeting with them. So we got a picture of the Bryan brothers holding our twins.
Oh, that must have been unbelievably cool.
Oh yeah, and those guys are just so personal. And Wayne, the dad is just such a nice guy.
Oh gosh,
I was president of our coaches association here in Texas for back in the late 80s, early 90s, I guess, and I'm still on the board of directors for that. But we had the Bryan brothers several times, not really Bryan, but Wayne Bryan several times to come to the clinic and stuff and speak. And he was just such a great ambassador for the game.
Yes,
super nice guy. And those 2 guys are just phenomenal. Phenomenal athletes. But it's just I could sit there and just watch their doubles.
Oh gosh!
We went to watch them work out one time in Austin when they were playing Davis Cup.
Oh golly!
The whole team to watch them work out, and Andy Roddick was working out with them, and Marty Fish, and they were there working singles. And my kids weren't even paying attention to the singles workout. They were just looking at the Bryan brothers.
The Bryan brothers, baby.
It's just such harmony.
Yeah, and their dad is he still the tournament director of the Houston Clay Court right before they go over to Europe then?
I don't think he's the tournament director of it. I mean, they're there every year.
Yeah, they're there. I knew that they were. And I thought that he had something to do with the director or tournament of it or something. But anyway.
I don't know what capacity he held in that.
Yeah, but yeah, they were there. They won it a few times there in Houston and in all of that. But
they would come in to a club over at Horseshoe Bay, just a few miles from here, and the boys put on an exhibition match, and then they would get the band would show up, their band, and they would play that night, play music for all the spectators and stuff. It was just lots of fun. And my kids kind of learned that hey, there's more to it than just tennis.
That's true.
These people are well rounded, and that's one thing that we really try to emphasize. We want our kids not just to. Yeah, and that's one reason why we moved to Mason was because I did not want my kids to play one sport. I wanted them to have, if they want to play one sport, that's fine. But if they wanted to play everything, play everything. And they did. The boys all played football and basketball. And, and then the youngest one, McKay, the one that's a coach now, he played baseball. All West Texas and baseball as well. So, then the girls all did multiple things.
Oh my gosh!
That's kind of what we like here. We want our kids to get to small school. You almost have to have them play everything in order to be able to compete. But I like it because, like I say, it just makes them more well versed and keeps them competitive. And just competing is competing. I don't care if you're a cheerleader or you're whatever. You're standing in front of people and you're performing. You're competing, and that just sharpens your abilities, and your skills, and your confidence.
Oh, absolutely. And with that I've had the opportunity myself, and you talking about Vitas Gerulaitis, I had the opportunity myself to see an exhibition with Gerulaitis and Ilie Nastase, and the guest players were Vince Van Patten and Dean Paul Martin Jr. That was Dean Martin's son. And they're both phenomenal.
Good players,
very good players. So anyway, I have a picture of Vitas, and many pictures of Vitas that I've taken over the years, and with WCT in Moody Coliseum in Dallas, and took pictures of that in Borg and Vilas, and then World Team Tennis. I was able to have a picture of not too far long after in Tulsa, where I grew up. They had World Team Tennis that came through there, and I got a picture of all things. It was shortly after Bobby Riggs had played Billie Jean King, and he came in there and was promoting with the World Team Tennis. And I got a picture of Bobby Riggs looking at my camera with the old 35 millimeter black and white picture, him in his sugar daddy coat and looking at my camera.
That's cool.
And then plus a little picture of Chris Evert being interviewed. So she was there that night too. She didn't play very well, but she got beat. But she was there. I got a picture of Chris Evert, and I'd had the opportunity to take pictures right as Billie Jean King retired. I took pictures of her in Enid, Oklahoma, in an exhibition match, and so I've had the opportunity of taking pictures of many pros, Connors, and through Tulsa, they had the Bank of Oklahoma tournament that came through, and I just had many opportunities to be close to the tennis pros over the years.
Yeah, I've had an opportunity to call lines at a McEnroe and Vitas Gerulaitis exhibition match in Midland, and we were doing a tennis clinic, and actually working with the Odessa College tennis coach Jay Box, and we were at the clinic at the time of the camp, and so they asked us to come over and be line judges, and I think Jay was the umpire on it, and so it was a lot of fun. I mean, we're going along, and McEnroe hits the ball wide by about 3 or 4 inches, so I call it out, and he just started throwing a fit and just going crazy. I mean, and I'm like, what in the world? So I'm just kind of listening to him. Well, Vitas Gerulaitis was on my side. Of course, he walks over by me, and I'm in the chair, sitting there, and he starts talking to him. I says, "You like this all the time?" He says, "He has to do it in every match." And so I said, "You want to see?" He says, "Yeah." So I got up out of my chair and let him sit down while McEnroe was doing his raving and ranting on the sideline. But after it was over with, McEnroe was fine. He just laughed and said, "Part of the show."
Part of the show, absolutely. That is part of the show. And I've also, over the phone interviews, I've had the opportunity to actually interview Cullen Robertson, a Sydney, Australian tennis player back in the day. And he ended up moving and got a college scholarship in Oklahoma City through college, and played college, and he ended up living in Oklahoma for 43 years.
Wow.
And he wrote a book. He wrote a book on Oklahoma tennis then too, which I have, and it's just unbelievable nice book. And I interviewed him too. So I've had the opportunity to be able to talk to a lot of different. He was the only closest pro that I've talked to yet, but my hopes is to be able to get a pro someday. Either a woman or a man on the tour somewhere, somehow. I don't know how, but maybe this might filter into Tennis Channel or T2 Channel. I don't know, but I'd love to do something like that one day. But, I'm in my 3rd year, so it does make it kind of nice, and letting people know that it's out there. You get tennis history, when you're here and talking to me too, and talking tennis and being able to relate with tennis in general too. And then letting people to know to join, like, subscribe, and comment, and then plus with the racket of the day that I have, it tends to be, and with the podcasters out there, if they want to take a look at the racket, be sure and take a look at it on the tennis channel part of it too. But with that, today, of all things, I have a racket right now for the racket of the day is actually a Wright-Ditzen racket. And it is a Wright. It's a kind of, and the old Wright-Ditzen has a tennis player on top of a tennis ball, kind of hitting a forehand on with his forehand, and that's kind of the logo of the Wright-Ditzen back in the day in the early 40s and 50s in that era and stuff. But it was a Wright-Ditzen. Now Wright-Ditzen was founded in 1871, and it was by a baseball Hall of Famer of all things, George Wright, and then a businessman, Henry Ditzen. Now, and they were known for doing, the precision craftsmanship and manufacturing the finest of tennis rackets and baseball equipment. And that's kind of how they got their start with doing this too. And the old Wright-Ditzen, and that's and it's kind of a really nice racket. It's has the old the strings on the top and bottom were actually, back in the day, they were kind of for string savers, kind of the dampener in the day, but also you could use that for the knots and smooths, so you'd spin the racket for the serve too. So it would be the little string at the very bottom of the main cross string, and they'd use that string, and they'd string two little strings, top and bottom, across. It'd be kind of like a dampener back then. Yeah, but they would be a knot and a smooth, and you'd spin it and say knot or smooth, and then and if you had the knot, then on up, then you'd win the serve. So that's kind of what those little strings on the rackets are. That you see in the older rackets nowadays, from the older rackets in the 40s, and then with this racket, it's probably an ash or a harder wood is what it is, and it's for championship play of all things. That's what it's for, and then it has in the throat right here, and it has the little cloth ribbons on each, in 4 cloth ribbons, one near the throat and one near the side and up near the halfway point there too. And whatever the cloth ribbons, I'm not quite sure what the marking was for that, but that for look, I guess, of all things. If anybody out there knows, just be sure and let me know, or make a comment if you do know. But of all things, now get this. It was endorsed. I mean, with a lot of rackets back then, they're endorsed by the players, such as Newcomb and Rosewall and Gonzalez and all of that. But this one here, this one was endorsed, and they endorsed it with Mercer Beasley. Mercer Beasley, of all things, kind of going and coinciding with this podcast. He was known for one of the prolific tennis teachers in of the 1930s, writing and being a tennis teacher back in the 1930, 31, 32 era, and being a tennis teacher, one of the renowned tennis teachers of tennis. And he wrote an illustrated book on how to play tennis by the Beasley system, is what he wrote that book, an illustrated book on how to play tennis. And then and he was a coach in 1931, 32, and then about let's see, and then Beasley, he said through with his teaching in Princeton, he didn't have very good eyesight. He had very heavy, thick glasses. He couldn't play very well, but he taught tennis really well and wrote the book. And he said that some of his students, 17 of his students that he had, won 38 titles, national titles, back in his day. But of all things, to have it endorsed by a racket company that endorses a pronounced tennis teacher. So I felt that was kind of fitting for this podcast to show this racket off.
Yeah, okay.
And when you see it, you'll be able to see this racket here that I'm showing right now. When you take a look at the podcast, you'll see it, and it's right here, and you'll kind of see the color of it. It's white, has the white paint on it all the way up to the halfway point, and then the rest of it is the wood. And then it has the black letter Wright Ditson, and then Mercer Beasley was the one who endorsed it, or they endorsed him. So that's kind of the realm of that part of it of that. So yeah, you podcasters, take a look at it on the Tennis Podcast. Like, subscribe, and comment. And Tennis Volley Talk, if you want to take a look at what I'm talking about. And you YouTubers, be sure and like, subscribe, and comment with that also. And that's kind of what I do with my podcast, and love always talking tennis. Now, I'll probably text you, and then if you have any other names you can float to me or anything, I would like to do that and kind of pursue a little bit more with some of the tennis also that way. And take it from there, because I always do like doing the over the phone interviews with people, because you get to hear the excitement and the rich history of tennis within what they're talking about also.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fun thing. I know I've got a granddaughter now that's about to go. She's fixing to play regional this next week.
Mm-hmm.
She went to state. She's a sophomore this year.
Oh my gosh!
She went to state last year as a freshman, so we're hoping to get her back this year.
Oh, good.
And so I started landing that one. I got 10 grandkids now, and so we'll start the next generation of them coming through. So
there you go. That's always the way to do it. That's always the way to do it. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. It's so wonderful to be able to have this the realm of tennis knowledge, with everything, and then plus the experiences that everybody has with the tennis experience that they've had with you and the Bryan brothers, and me with seeing Connors at the Bank of Oklahoma tournament back in Tulsa many years in a row. He was there and played, and saw him play, and what a joy it was to watch him play too, in everything. So just the rich experience of being able to see all these tennis pros over the years, and I'm not too far behind you. I'm like 69, but you're a little older than I am. But you still grew up in that same era of the Newcomb and Rosewalls and Lavers and all of those guys.
Yeah.